Hello guys, I welcome everyone to this live session. And since this is the IPL season, as I've told you in my previous live class, we'll be dealing with a lot of IPL related stuff and see how we can use Python and data analytics to do quite interesting stuff on whatever data we can get our hands onto. And before we start off with the session, if you could just give me a confirmation if you guys can see my screen and if you guys can hear me, that would be really wonderful. So if you can see my screen and if you can hear me, just put up yes in the chat. And also, before we start off with the session, I'd like to inform you folks that we have launched a free learning platform called as Great Learning Academy. So as you see over here, this is the site and you'll be able to find the link of Great Learning Academy in the chat as well. So Great Learning Academy will provide you more than 100 courses with respect to different platforms. So as you see over here, you will have courses related to artificial intelligence, cloud computing, digital marketing, and a lot more. And once you complete these courses, you will get a course completion certificate, which you can go ahead and add onto your resume, which will be a huge value add for you guys. And also, as you see over here, we also regularly conduct all of the live sessions. And if you want to register for it, you can go ahead and click on any of these and you can register for this session. So as you see over here, today's session is this data analysis of IPL data. And tomorrow again we have a live session where I'll be taking a Q&A with respect to Python and data science. And then on Monday we've got a live session by Faizan on JavaScript. So if you are interested in these live sessions, you can go ahead and register over here. And also for all of the folks who are new to our channel, I'd like to request you guys to click on the subscribe button and also click on the bell icon, as it will encourage us to come up with more such live sessions on a regular basis. And also just another request, so we see that we have a watching of 77 and we've got around 21 likes. So if you can just quickly go ahead and make the number of likes equal to watching, that would be wonderful. Because the YouTube algorithm works in such a way that if the video has more likes, then it'll be more presented to more people and it'll be shown in their recommendation list. And if they're interested in watching this, they can go ahead and watch our session right now. So quickly go ahead, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet done it. Now we'll move on to the agenda for the session. So we'll be doing, there are two agendas for today's session. The first agenda would be a web scraping. So I'll just show you this website. So I'll just write down IPLT20.com. And as you see, we have all of the information of different things about IPL. And we'll see how to scrape data from this particular website. So this will be the first agenda where we'll be scraping data from a table. Now after we do that, what we'll do is we will also go ahead and analyze some data which we already have. So these are the two agendas which we have. Now let's start off with the first agenda. So I'll go ahead and open up the correct page over here. Let me just copy this and let me paste it over here. Let's see what do we get. So I see we have the team standings. So this is the 2020 season and we've got the team standings, and as you see, currently Mumbai Indians is leading the table. They've played 4 matches, they've won 2 and they've got 4 points over here. Now what I want to do is I'd want to extract all of this data which is present in this table. So let's see how can I do that using Python. So when it comes to extracting data from tables with Python, we will need a framework called as Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is a web scraping library with the help of which you can scrape data. And now that is something which we already know. So how do we do that? That happens because, again, so before we go ahead to that, if you guys could tell me, what is a web page composed of? What do you have in a web page? Could I quickly get answers in the chat, please? What do we actually have in a web page? Could you let me know? I understand that'd be a delay of around 10 to 15 seconds. So if you could put up in the chat, what is a website made up of? Naval says HTML script. Others, if you could also put up in the chat, that'll be wonderful. And guys, I want this session to be as interactive as possible. The purpose of the live session is to speak with you people, is to engage with you people, so that if you have any doubts or any queries, I can solve them. So it'll be, I'll feel good if you answer questions which I'm asking. Right. So Neville saying HTML script, Jeevan says text, images, tags, navigations. Nishant is saying JavaScript. We have links, JSON, and so on. Right. So simply put, as some of you have said, a website is composed of HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And now, how do you find the source code for this? So let's say if I would have to extract data from this table, this data is essentially present in HTML, isn't it? So you will have different HTML tags, and inside that HTML tags you will have all of this data present. Now, if I would want to extract this data from HTML tags, I'd want to know under which tag is this data present. So that is why you would have to find the source code for this. So to find the source code, you have two options. Either you can hit Ctrl, Shift and C. So here, as you guys see, I have just pressed Ctrl, Shift, C, and we have the entire source code for this particular page. Now we already know that this is present in a tabular format, so we'd have to find the table tag over here. I just clicked and you would see that I have found the table tag. Now if I would want to extract all of this data which is present in this table, I'd have to extract data from this table tag. Class, you can consider the class to be the name of this table over here. So that is how we'll be extracting data. So now that I've told you how to find out the source code, what we'll do is we will quickly go on and look at the Beautiful Soup script. So we need two libraries to perform this. The first library would be request library, with the help of which we will be sending a request to this particular web page. Because if you want to extract data from a web page, obviously we'd have to send a request to that web page. So we are sending a request by using import request. Going ahead, I would need the Beautiful Soup framework as well to extract this HTML data. So for that we would need this framework called as BS4. So from BS4 we'll be importing Beautiful Soup. Then this request module gives us a method called as get. And with the help of this get method, we'll be getting the data from the particular website. So here all I'll do is I will give in the URL of the website from which I'd have to extract the data. So here, as you see, I would want to extract data from this particular page, and I given the link for this or the entire URL for this. So the command is request.get, and the whatever result I get, that is stored in R. Now, let me run this entire thing for now. Let's just ignore the result. I'll cut out this result over here. Let me just quickly cut out this result. Let me get that back. I'll actually close this and open this up again. Just give me a second. Okay, so seems like the code has gone over here. So what we'll do is we have something else. Let me just take this down over here. Just give me a couple of minutes, guys. Okay, so anyhow, what we'll do is, let me just remove this entire thing over here. Let us write out the code by ourselves. Let me remove this as well. So we have imported all of the required libraries. After importing all of the required libraries, what I need to do is, so here I am giving the name of the website. The name of the website, I'll copy this link and I will go ahead and I'll paste it over here. Let me just quickly do that. So now that this is done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this. I've put this in soup. Now let me just quickly run this. Let me also run this over here. This will just take a couple of seconds for this to be loaded properly. Alright, so now when I give in the name of the website over here, we get a result, and that result is stored in this object called as page. And if I actually want to know that if we have got the result from this, I would just have to go ahead and print out page over here. Now let me also go ahead and print out soup, and we get the entire HTML text which is present in this. So now that the basic thing is done, what we would want right now is basically the table data which is present in this. So for that purpose, what I'd have to do is I would need to extract this. Just give me a couple of seconds. So now that we have extracted this, now what I'm going to do is, we already know that this is present in the form of a table. Now that we know that this is present in the form of a table, we need to find the table tag. So from this table tag, I will find out the class. So here the name of the class is this, standings table full. Let me just copy this thing over here. And what I'll do right now is I will just go ahead and I will paste it over here. Now let me run this. After this, let me just go ahead and print out league table for you guys, and let's see what is the result. So as you see, when I have printed out league table, I have got all of the HTML text which is present inside the table. So I hope this must be confusing for you guys a bit. I'll just quickly go ahead and look at the chat if you guys have any confusion. So some of you guys are saying that this is a bit confusing. Sure. What I'll do is I'll quickly go ahead and give you guys a recap. So right now what we are doing is we are extracting data from this website called as IPLT20.com. Now if we would want to extract data from this particular website, we already know that a website is comprised of HTML tags, and to extract data from HTML tags we would have to need a framework which will help us to do that, and for that purpose we have the beautiful soup framework, and we are starting off by importing all of the required libraries. So for this case we wouldn't need pandas. I'll just quickly remove all of the libraries which we don't require for now. I'll also remove right. So out of these, the two important libraries which are needed for this session are Beautiful Soup and Request. With the help of the request framework, we are sending a request to the page, and from that we are finding out, we are getting the data from this particular website. Now when we print out page, we know that we have successfully extracted the data from this. After this, since I would want to extract only the HTML data from this website, what I'll do is I would need a HTML parser. So this object, so this, what you see, this method Beautiful Soup, this takes in two parameters. The first parameter is I just specify the URL link. So from this I would need the text, and from that text this is basically HTML parser. Now after that, from this entire URL, so this, when I print out soup, I'll get the entire data from this website, but I do not need the entire data. What I need is only the data which is present in this table. Since I need only the data which is present in this table, what I do is I use soup.find, and over here I given the tag table, and I set the class. So class over here is basically this over here, this attribute. So table is the tag, class is the name, and that is what I'm giving over here, and that is the data which I am extracting. Now after extracting this, I would have to also extract the TD. So this is table, but inside this, as you see, I have TR and I would have TD. So all of this data would be present in TD. Now before we go ahead to that, what I'm going to do is I've got this, and after this what I'll do is class header tr Let me just scroll this down a bit. What I'll do is I'll just open up the source code. So I'll press Ctrl U. I'll get the source code that will help me to have a glance at this in a better way. Let me just quickly scroll down to where the table tag is present. And this is what I have over here. So now that I take this, what I would want next is tr. So I'll just quickly go ahead and I would extract the data which is present in tr. So for that, what I'll do is I will have I'll just print out team.text, print team.text, and let's see what do we get right now. Let's just wait for the result. And as you see, I get the entire tabular data over here. So as you see over here, this is what I've done. From this entire page, what I've done is I have extracted only the tabular data. So first I have the headings over here. As you see, team played, won, lost, tied, net run rate, for, against, point and form. Then I have the values for each row. So as you see over here, I have Mumbai Indians, MI. So as you see, this is the shorthand. Then I have these values 42200. So 42200. So 4 is number of matches played, 2 is number of matches won, 2 is number of matches lost, tied, and no result. So this is how I am able to extract this tabular data from this data frame. So I hope this gives you a basic idea of what we are doing over here. If you have any doubts, please let me know again. I believe this might be confusing for you folks a bit. Just quickly let me know in the chat. I believe there's a 10 to 15 second delay. Right. I would just need a confirmation from you folks if you are able to follow this or not. And if you're not able to follow this, I could just quickly give a recap of this. Siddharth is saying, should we not take a transpose of this? Yes, we need to take a transpose of this because all of this is present in the form of columns. We would need, this is present in the form of rows, so you would need this in separate columns. Rishit is asking, what is the purpose of creating data of a web page? So as you see over here, this could be one of the application. That is, say if you want to analyze some data from a website or some table from a website. Let's say if you want to extract some images or some tabular data, then you can go ahead and use these frameworks such as Beautiful Soup. Om is saying, I am in class 10, which is the best course for me. That would depend on which field you'd want to enter. So you're in class 10 and you're watching this session, so I believe you would want to get into the domain of computer science or maybe data science. So I'd recommend you to start off with a language called as Python. So if you don't really know Python as of now, I'd recommend you to start learning a bit of Python because Python is really versatile, and if you know Python, you can go into any domain. So with the help of Python, you can do web development, game development. You can also use it for a lot of data science and artificial intelligence applications. So I hope that helps you. Okay, a lot of you folks are saying that it is absolutely clear. Great. Shweta is asking, what is data scraping? So what exactly we've done right now is data scraping. So we did not have this tabular data with us earlier. What we've done is we have looked at this website and then we looked at the source code of this website. By looking at the source code of this website, we were able to extract the data from inside this table. So this is what is known as data scraping or web scraping. Some of you guys are asking to share the source code. Sure, we'll definitely do that. Nishant is asking, do we need to import pandas for this exercise? No, we do not. So the two main libraries which are required for this is request and Beautiful Soup. With the help of Beautiful Soup, you'll be sending a request to the website to collect the data from it. Creative World is asking, can we arrange this in tabular data? Sure, we can do that. Since we had two agendas, we'll cover that maybe in some other session. So the first part of the session was to show you guys how can we scrape tabular data. So to scrape tabular data, this is the small piece of code which we'll be using. This is pretty much it. First, you'll send the request and get the result within try and catch blocks, because sometimes the website might not give you the access to fetch data, and that is when you'd have to put it inside try and catch. After that, you just need to start off this parser, and with the help of the parser, whichever data you'd want to extract. Since I'd want to extract the tabular data, I'll use the find method and I'll give the tag which is table, then given the class. This is the class of that table. Now from this table, what I'd want is I would want the data which is present in all of the rows. So I'll give in the tag for team in league table dot find all. I'd need all of the data which is present in tr, which is table row, and then whatever is stored in team. We actually have HTML data, but from that HTML data we only want text data. So we'll just print out team.text, and as you see, we get the entire text data from that table. Now if we would, as some of you has asked, if we would want to convert this into tabular data, what we can do is we can just extract each part individually. So what we'll do is we'll extract the title in one list. Then we'll extract the names of the teams into another list. We'll extract the wins into another list. We'll extract the losses into another list. And then we can combine this entire thing into one single table. So that is how it can be done. Farhan is asking, do you want me to learn C or Python first? From my perspective, I'll recommend you to learn Python, because I do understand that in most of the colleges you'll start off with C, but the disconnect between college, academia, and what happens in the industry is a lot. So right now in the industry, it's Python which is largely prevalent. So after completing your graduation, or if you have already completed your graduation and if you'd want to get a really good job, Python should be your preferred language rather than C. Now C would come into the picture, let's say if you would want to get into the field of embedded systems or chip designing. In that case, you would want to be good at C. If you'd want to get into the field of data analytics or data science, I'd recommend you folks to learn Python rather than C. Ramraj is asking, is Python easy or hard to learn? I'd say it's relatively easy when you compare it with languages such as Java or C++, because it's dynamically typed, and there's no boiler code for it. There's no boiler template for it. It's just simple lines of code, and if you invest maybe at least 2 to 3 hours every single day, then you must be able to master Python in 2 to 3 weeks. Safal Shakha is asking, is scraping data from any site possible? Yes, absolutely. You can scrape data from any website. Again, so when I say any website, it's just that it has to be legal. I mean, if you don't have the access for that website, so let's say if the website asks you to enter username and password, and if you don't have the username and password, and if you illegally try to access that data, that is a different domain again. That is when you're trying to hack something from the website. But here we are not really hacking anything. I have public entry to this website, and I have the access of the source code of this website. And since I have the access to this source code, I am just extracting data from inside the source code. So for whichever website you have access to source code, you can extract data from that particular website. Om is asking, is Great Learning app available in Windows Store? Windows Store, I'm not sure, but you can download it on phone through Android Studio. Ramraj is asking, which field has more scope for learning Python? I'd say data science and artificial intelligence is the trending domain right now, for which Python is really in demand. The other is obviously SDE roles, the software development engineer roles, because Python is versatile, and if you know Python, you can either go apply for the SDE roles or the data science roles. Sarfaraz is asking, how prominently would data scraping be required for data analysts? Data scraping would be required, as you see over here, if you would want to extract raw data from somewhere. That is when we would require data scraping. Let me just put it out very clearly for you folks. In a data analyst job role, what you're doing is mostly exploratory data analysis. And what exactly is exploratory data analysis? To simply put, you are exploring the data to find out simple insights from this raw data. So wherever you have to extract data, wherever you have to find insights from the data, that is what a data analyst does. Great. I've taken up most of your questions over here. I'll head back to the questions later on. So we are done with the first part of our agenda today. Now we'll head on to the second part of our agenda. So let's just quickly head on to that. I will close this. Let me also quickly close this. And also, before I start off with the second part of the session, quickly guys, if you can hit the like button if you haven't yet done it. So we've got around 82 people watching, and we can get the number of likes to 100. That would be amazing. So if you could quickly hit the like button, that would encourage us to come up with more such live sessions on a regular basis. And also, if you find this session helpful, you can spread the word of mouth about Great Learning to your friends, to your peers, or to your colleagues, and let them know that we'll be conducting these live sessions on a regular basis. And also, if you guys complete whatever courses we have on Great Learning Academy, they'll be getting a certificate which they can add onto your resume. So quickly hit the like button, and also if you haven't yet subscribed yet, hit on the subscribe button and also click the bell icon. That'll be really helpful for us. Now, after this, we have the second part where we have some pre-extracted data, And this is complete exploratory data analysis. So the first part we had extracted data. Now we are going to do some exploratory data analysis. So first we'll be importing all of the required libraries. So I need this library called as pandas, which is used for data manipulation. Then we would require this matplotlib library, which is used for data visualization. And again, we have this library called as Seaborn, which is also used for data visualization. Now in matplotlib, we have a sub module called as PLT, and that is what we'll be importing. And this, what you see, PD is the alias for this library pandas. PLT is the alias for this module called as pyplot. SNS is the alias for this module called as Seaborn, and we'll be importing all of these three libraries. Let's just again wait for these three libraries to be imported. So we have loaded all of the required libraries. Now after doing this, I would have to load the data set. So to load the data set, I have read_csv method, and here I have pd.read_csv. Inside this, I will give in the name of the data set, which is matches.csv, and that I'll go ahead and store in this object called as IPL. Now I'll quickly run this and I'll store it over here. So I have loaded all of the required libraries. I have stored it in this object called as IPL. Then I will have a glance at the first 5 records of this data frame. So to have a glance at the first 5 records, I'll just write down IPL.head, and as you see over here, this would give me the list of all of the records which are present. So this season column would tell me in which season was this match played on. The city column would tell me in which city was this match played in. Then I've got the date column, which would tell me on which particular date was this match played. Then I have team 1 and team 2, which would tell me between which two teams this match was played. Then I have the toss winner column. So the toss winner column would let us know which team had won the toss. We have the toss decision column. What did the team decide to do after winning the toss? Then we've got results. So we've got 3 results over here: normal, tie, and no result. So that we'll go ahead and look at later. Then we have DL applied. DL applied over here stands for Duckworth-Lewis method. So if Duckworth-Lewis method was applied in the match, then we'll have a 1. If it wasn't applied, then we'll have a 0. After that, we have this winner column, which would tell us which team has won the match. So in this match between Royal Challengers Bangalore and Sunrisers Hyderabad, Sunrisers Hyderabad seems to have won the match. Then we have win by runs and win by wickets. Now this is quite interesting over here. Let's just understand this properly. So here Royal Challengers Bangalore had won the toss and decided to field, which would mean that Sunrisers Hyderabad was batting first. So if a team batting first wins the match, then the team will be winning by a certain number of runs. So just to give you guys an example, let's just say if Sunrisers Hyderabad had scored 100 runs batting first, it would mean that Royal Challengers Bangalore were all out for 65 runs. And that is why we say that Sunrisers Hyderabad has won by 35 runs. On the other hand, if the team batting second has won the match, then we'll have a value over here. So if a team batting second has won the match by, let's say, 3 wickets remaining, then we'll have a value of 3 over here. And in this match between Royal Challengers Bangalore and Sunrisers Hyderabad, Yuvraj Singh was named as the player of the match. After that, we have the venue over here. This match was played at Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium. Then we've got these three columns: Umpire 1, Umpire 2 and Umpire 3. So the first umpire was A.Y. Dandekar, Umpire 2 was Nigel Long, Umpire 3. So there was no third umpire, or you don't have information about the third umpire over here. So this is a brief bit of information about this particular data. Now that this is done, I'd want to have a glance at the number of records and number of columns present over here. So I'll have IPL.shape, and this would give me a value of 636,18, which would mean that there are 636 records and 18 columns present in this data frame. So those 636 records would mean that since each record represents a match, there are 636 matches in this data frame. Then going ahead, I'd want to analyze this player of the match column. So to analyze this player of the match column, what I'll do is I'd want to know which player has won the most number of man of the match awards. And for that purpose, first I'll go ahead and give in the name of the data frame, which is IPL. Then inside parenthesis, I'll give in the name of the column, which is player of match. After that, I'll use the dot operator and I'll use value counts method, which will basically give me the frequency of different categories which are present in this column. And as you see over here, Chris Gayle has won the most number of man of the match awards. So in this data set, Chris Gayle has won 18 man of the match awards. Then you have Yusuf Pathan with 16 man of the match awards. After that, you have AB de Villiers with 15 man of the match awards. Then you have David Warner with 15 and so on. And this is how it goes ahead. Now, out of these, let's say if I would want to have a glance at only the top 10 players who've got the most man of the match awards. So, I'll give in the name of the data frame, which is IPL. Then I will select the column which is player of match, and so basically the command is same. It's just that I am taking only the top 10 records from this. And as you see over here, I have the top 10 players with most number of man of the match awards. Right, so this is an interesting observation over here. Now similarly, let's say instead of the top 10 players, if I would want to have a glance at only the top 5 players with most man of the match awards, so I'll have IPL player of the match, value count 0 to 5. And you would see that these are the top 5 players. So you have Chris Gayle leading the chart, then you have Yusuf Pathan, AB de Villiers, David Warner and Suresh Raina at the 5th place. And now, what I'd want to do is, I would want to make a bar plot for this particular result. So to make a bar plot, we would have to use this. So to make a bar, sorry for that. So as I was saying, to make this bar plot, we would need this matplotlib library to visualize. And we have already imported this pyplot submodule with the alias plt. Now what we'll do is, we'll be starting off by making a bar plot. So I'll have plt.bar. And inside plt.bar, I have certain parameters. The first parameter is where I'll be giving the names of these players, or the first parameter is basically the categorical values. And here, as you see, this command, so I'll just take this command. This command gives me the names along with the number of man of the match awards they've won. But what I'd want is only the names. If I want only the names, I would have to attach the keys method at the end of this, and as you see, I've got only the names from this, and that is what I've given over here. So now that I have extracted all of the names of these players, then the second parameter would just be the value counts. So to get the value counts, I will just remove this keys method. So here, the first parameter, I'll get the names of the players. The second parameter, I'll get the value counts for the players. The third parameter, I'm just assigning a color, and I'm assigning the green color to these bars. And plt.show would just print out the bar plot. And we also have this plt.figure fig size. So with the help of this, we are setting the figure size 8,5. So this is the dimension of the figure which we have just plotted over here. So as you see, Chris Gayle has the most number of man of the match awards, and at 5th place we have Suresh Raina. So unfortunately, Suresh Raina I don't think would be playing this IPL, and Chris Gayle is on bench in most of the matches because seems like he is not at his peak form right now. So this is some interesting observation again. Right. So again, let me just head back to the chat section, and if I'll just check if there are more questions. Gurjar is asking if I'm okay. Yes, I'm fine. It's just a bit of persistent cough, which I've had since a couple of weeks. Mahima is asking, data science job role is less for BTech, and tell which company will allow for job in BTech level. That's an interesting question. When you talk about data science job roles, there are different types of job roles. So there's the data analyst job role, you have the data scientist job role, you have the machine learning engineer job role, you have the artificial intelligence job role, you have the computer vision engineer job role, and so on. Now, when you talk about a fresher getting a job in the data science field, you would mostly start off as a data analyst and not a data scientist or a machine learning engineer. Because what a data analyst does is completely different from a data scientist job role. A data analyst is involved in the EDA side of things. Now, what is EDA? You have raw data with you. You would have to convert that raw, untidy data into a structured format, into a tidy, structured format from which you can find simple insights. So right now, what we are doing is exploratory data analysis. So this is pretty much the job profile of a data analyst, where you take raw data and you find simple insights from this raw data. Now, when we head on to a data scientist job role or a machine learning engineer's job role, what these two folks should be doing is they'll be implementing some data science or machine learning algorithms such as linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree, random forest, and so on. And on the basis of that, they'll be trying to predict or classify something. So right now what we're doing is we're just finding simple insights. But let's say a data scientist or a machine learning engineer, he would try to predict who will win the tournament or which team will have the most probability of winning. So when you have those sort of problem statements, those are the sort of problem statements which are solved by a machine learning engineer or a data scientist. Then we have artificial intelligence engineer or a computer vision engineer. These folks mostly deal with, they deal with frameworks such as TensorFlow, Keras, and so on. And there the data is really huge, and also the analysis is extremely complex. So these would be the three distinguishing factors between data analyst role, data scientist role, and artificial intelligence role. So as a fresher, after BTech, if you'd want to get into the data in the analytics field, you can try for the data analytics roles. So you have companies such as Mu Sigma, ZS Associates, and so on, which actually do hire freshers for these sort of roles. So maybe you can research about these companies. And also there's a website called as Kaggle. So if you go ahead and participate in a lot of contests on Kaggle, what happens is there are a lot of companies which directly recruit from Kaggle itself. But then again, you would have to be in the top 50 or top 100 in the entire world in these contests. So if you're in the top 50 or in the top 100 in these contests, then some of the companies directly recruit from the website itself. So I hope that answers your question. Rashit is asking, could you let me know the roadmap for data analysis and data scientist? So throughout all of my live sessions, I say the same thing. You have three basic pillars which you have to master to be, to get into the field of analytics. The first pillar is statistics, because statistics is data and you're dealing with a lot of data in the analytics field. So you'd have to know these fundamental concepts such as measures of central tendency, measures of deviation, central limit theorem, normal distribution, Poisson distribution, and so on. So these are some of the fundamentals of statistics. You'd have to be good at them. Once you cover the first pillar, then comes the second pillar, which is the programming language. And when it comes to the analytics field, there are two most important languages, which are Python and R. So I'd recommend you guys to learn both of them, because both of them are equally used and equally important. So that would depend on the project, which the team is currently focused on, if they would want to go with Python or R. Then the third pillar would be ML, because ML is obviously the most difficult part. So go ahead and learn all of the concepts of these algorithms like linear regression, logistic regression, and so on, and try to implement them by yourself. So if you are good at these three pillars, if you master these three pillars, then you can be sure that you'll be easily getting or easily cracking the data science or the data analytics interview. Shweta Mahajan is asking how to convert the scraped data to CSV. So as I've told you guys, we had extracted the entire data. Now from that entire data, what we can do is we can individually segregate them. We can store the names of the teams in one list. Then we will store the wins in another list. Then we'll store the losses in another list. Then we'll store the net run rate in another list. Then finally we can combine all of these lists into one single data frame. So that is how you can convert that scraped data into a data frame. Right. So again, let's head on to what we were doing over here. So we have done this, and now we have the result column over here. And as I've told you guys, we've got three categories. We've got normal, we've got no result, we've got tie. Let's just understand what these three are. So IPL result dot value counts, and let's see what do we get. So out of the 636 matches, 626 were normal, which would mean that in 626 matches, one team was winning the match and the other team was losing the match. Then we have 7 ties, which would mean both of the teams have scored the same number of runs. Then we have 3 no results, which would mean that the match did not happen because of some reason. Either it must be because of rain or something else, and the match was called off. Now, I want to know about how, which team has won the most number of tosses. So to understand that, first I'll use the name of the data frame, which is IPL. Then I will give in the name of the column, which is toss winner. Then again, we know that to get the frequency count, we will use the value counts method. So IPL toss winner dot value counts, and here you would see that Mumbai Indians has won the most number of tosses. So Mumbai Indians has won 85 tosses, Kolkata Knight Riders has won 78 tosses, Delhi Daredevils has won 72 tosses, and so on. Then we'll be doing something interesting. I'd want to know how teams are performing after batting first. So, or basically I want to analyze all of those teams which have won the match after batting first. And I've told you that if a team has won the match after batting first, you will have a value in this particular column, in this win by runs column. So what I'd want is, I'd basically want a value over here. So to extract all of those records where a team has won batting first, it would mean that this value should not be equal to 0. Because if this value is equal to 0, that would mean that the team batting second has won the match. So what I am doing over here is, from the IPL data frame, we have the win by runs column, and from this column I am extracting, or from the entire table I am extracting all of those records where the value in this win by runs column is not equal to 0, and that I will store in this object called as batting first. Now I'll have a glance at this semi data frame which I have extracted from the original data frame, and you would see over here that I don't have any zeros over here. So I've got a new data frame which comprises of all of the teams which have won batting first. Now I'd want to do something interesting again. So I'd want to make a histogram for this column, win by runs column. And since this is a numerical column, obviously I'll be making a histogram. So here you'd have to understand the difference between a histogram and a bar plot. Whenever you are dealing with numerical data or continuous numerical values, you will use a histogram. But if you want to visualize categorical data, then you'll make a bar plot. And since this is a continuous numerical column, we'll be making a histogram over here. So first we'll start off again by setting the figure size. So I'll have plt.figure, fig size will become 7,7. Then since we are making a histogram, I'll have plt.hist, and inside this I will pass in the name of the data frame. After that I'll pass in the name of the column, which is win by runs. So basically we are passing in this column inside plt.hist. Then we are setting a title for the plot, we are setting the X label for the plot, and we are showing out the result, plt.show over here. And this is what we get. So we have something interesting over here. So as you see, so we have a distribution of 0 to 140 runs, and this would tell you the number of matches. So there have been around 100 odd matches where the team batting first has won between 0 to 20 runs. This over here would tell you that there have been around 18 odd matches where team batting first has won by somewhere around 70 to 90 runs. This over here, so this decreases very steeply. So there are very few matches where a team batting first has won by more than 100 runs remaining. So this again is an interesting observation over here. So I guess we are done with the 1 hour. I'll just quickly head back to the chat and see if there are any more questions. Om is saying, I love Mumbai Indians team. That's great to know. is saying, please provide notes. Unfortunately, notes are something which I don't think we can provide, but if you want the code file for this, we can add this code file onto Great Learning Academy. So from there, you can go ahead and download the code file. Great. So thank you very much, guys, for attending the session. And before signing off, again, if you could, if you haven't yet clicked on the like button, if you could just click on it, that would be very helpful. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel or clicked on the bell icon, if you could just quickly hit on the subscribe button, that would be wonderful as well. So thank you very much for attending the session, guys. We will meet in the next live session, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll have a Q&A session on Python and data science. It will be a 1-hour Q&A session where you can ask me anything related to Python with respect to all of the libraries in Python, with respect to anything in data science. If you would want to transition into data science, or what are the things you'd want to know in data science, you can ask me anything with respect to both of these topics, and I'd gladly help you out for 1 hour. So thank you, guys, and we'll meet tomorrow at same time.